This is our GreenSlate Quick Take webinar, Simplify Your Workflow to Reclaim Hours Every Week. And there's some really good information here that Jenna and Kay are going to share with us on simplifying your workflow and reclaiming those hours. So with that, I'm going to toss it over to you, Jenna and Kay. Why don't you guys start by introducing yourselves?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. My name is Jenna Kaye. I'm the head of training here at GreenSlate. I am a former production accountant. I've started in production accounting in 2009, started in the industry long before that in locations for a few years. And I am also a former GreenSlate user. I was very, very fortunate after doing a show with GreenSlate. I was hired on to create this training program to help share all the wonderful things about GreenSlate and to also help bridge that gap between users and the system. So I would love to share all that with you, and I'll put it over to Kay.
Hi, I'm Cady. I've been in accounting since my early 20s, so almost 40 years. I've been from clerk all the way up to the main production accountant, and then I've spent probably the last 10 years in the payroll side. And GreenSlate has just given me a new leash on life, and can't go back. So this is where I want to live, is in the GreenSlate app. So so if you can share Jenna, I know we're going to do a few of these things here. So why don't you share what our overview will be?
Yes. So today we're going to kind of touch on all of these. We're going to touch on the ease of accessing information. I know for me, the ability to access information can make or break my day, can also make or break time. And with you, Kate, have you found that to be true as well?
Absolutely. Even in a short payroll week we have a holiday, like I'm losing 2 days at Thanksgiving, let's say. Those are like in the past, they have been harsh. That has been a hard reality for me.
Yes. We're going to talk about the ease of auditing as well as ease of accessing the information. Kay is going to touch on our short payroll weeks, how we can get through those quicker. Customized approval flows, how those are going to shorten your time, all the time you're running around getting approvals. Logless working. Kay, when you did your show, did you use any external logs?
On GreenSlate? No.
Really?
None.
Logless working. It is a wonderful environment to be in, to not have to go out into external software programs or anything else to log what we're doing. You don't need to in GreenSlate. It all work is in there. We're going to touch base on Timecard adjustments, how quickly those can be done, how rush checks can be done in the blink of an eye. And we're going to talk about how we can engage with our crew. I was tasked a while ago from the higher ups for marketing to try to equate the time savings that GreenSlate does as a first accountant. And I had to kind of sit there and quantify it. And I actually went down and got very granular and figured out how many seconds it took me to do things and how many times I had to repetitively do them. And I figured out over the course of a feature, you would save approximately 2 full production days of a first accountant while still working normal hours. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to get to keep me for 2 less days. It just means I'm not struggling and cramming 2 more days in there. So we're going to touch on all of that to show how we can get a lot of our hours back and get our life back.
Yeah, I agree. And I love it because I know I've saved a lot of time every week. It shows up every week for me, and it shows up in about 8 hours of savings a week. Minimal. Like that's a huge savings of a payroll accountant's life in the cycle of what we do in payroll. So that's like unheard of. And so for that, I mean, I know that you're going to be sharing some stuff on auditing. And I know that for me, just downloading payroll for even an incentive, or I don't have to scan that stuff anymore. I don't have to get it from some other place. I can click, download it all, put it in a file. It's ready for the auditors. Like, it's just a beautiful system.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate. So yes, let's talk about auditing. And auditing, as far as auditing, maybe auditing at the end of the week. You want to audit your tax credit codes, auditing for your tax credit, auditing for your auditors, or your edits, whatever you're doing for auditing or information gathering. Let's talk about how we can do that super easily in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to hold on one second. I'm going to share my screen. Of course, I have something blocking it. Give me one sec. There we go. Let's share my screen. So we're going to quickly, so this is welcome to GreenSlate. This is what GreenSlate looks like. Everybody's layout is basically the same. How you move around, how you do things is the same for every single user in the system. I don't care who you are, from the payroll accountant to the read only at the studio. Everybody maneuvers the same way. Where you maneuver is what's different. Everything is based off of roles and permissions. You'll see I have lots of stuff here. Your Joe Grip is only going to probably see their start work and their time cards, maybe purchase orders if they've been given those permissions. Everything's customizable and based off of those permissions. It's also really easy to move around in the system for both crew and for the accountants. The crew members can move around from this area over here, very big in there and in bold. We also have these help to show you directly how to get help. Speaking of help, I will say we do have the absolute best customer service in town, hands down.
I agree.
Don't have to wait to get help. Kay, I'm going to give you, can you tell your story?
Yeah. So I really had a thing that I needed like some help on some time cards. And it was just after 6 and I called the helpline and I got that they were out. So I thought, well, this is not happening right now. So I went and made dinner. And 15 minutes into like starting my cooking, the phone rings and it's GreenSlate. They're like, oh, we're so sorry. We missed a call from you. It's like, are you kidding? So I'm turning off all my burners and I'm going back to the computer because they're here to help me. I thought it was awesome. Like I was still stunned. To this day, I'm still stunned that they called me back. They had just missed the call. And it's not just that one time. If I had placed the call and didn't, I just even pressed 2 for payroll. And then I went, oh, wait a minute. I figured this out. And I hung up. They still call back.
Yep.
So and I have to say, Jenna, I just want to say all these efficiencies, all these things that we're showing them today is not just for accounting. This is across the board for every user. It is an efficient way to work as they interact with accounting. So it has been super helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And on that, we will also, when you when you're doing a GreenSlate show, we are also going to help you learn how to use the system and show you how to help your crew as well. And we offer all of that. But moving around, so you have all of your options over here. And then we, as the as the accounting office, we live in our left nav, which has options for everything. We have a wonderful thing called Pinned, which gives me easy access to them. So let's talk about auditing. Information gathering, auditing. So I'm going to head over to my purchase orders module and I'm going to look in here real quick. And I'm sitting at my desk. It's the middle of production and it is the set deck and he's calling me and he says, hey, remember day 1, we had that shoot with those really yummy cupcakes. Director wants to do a reshoot tomorrow and I have to reorder those cupcakes right now. And I cannot remember the vendor and the invoices on my desk. Can you help me, please? Yes, absolutely. I can help you, but that's going to take some time. How do I get that information? The other systems, I would be probably scrambling to get in there. Within GreenSlate, I can go right into my purchase orders. I'm in a customized tab. So my view is customized just for me. I can show you what GreenSlate has given me as a default, but I like this better. So I can customize on all of these are customized. But more importantly, I need to find out who these cupcakes are. I can go ahead and type cupcakes right in there or even a partial and I can see, oh, they're Mealy Moose treats. I can open that PO I can even open that W-9 and say, oh, the phone number is 504-555-5789. The vendor's name is Ash Jones. Go ahead and you can give them that information right there. And beyond that, you can even see what you paid for your cupcakes. You can look at the backup that's in there as well by clicking on the backup. I have not been able to get information to a crew member that fast ever before. You can also go and search for things that if you're looking for different information for any sort of transaction you're looking for, you can search in there. If you are needing to find your check packs, so let's jump over to our checks module. I'm going to click over there. Now you're going to see I'm in a new module, looks very similar. This is our checks. This is our this is our file cabinet. This is every check pack. Your AP file cabinet. There's a payroll file cabinet, but this is our AP file cabinet. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at a check real quick. Let's look at this check right here. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to view that PDF. Here is my finished check pack right here. This would be my yellow check front. I would have my check request behind it. I would have the backup for said check request, the PO attached to it, showing the original line and the drawdown. And had this been the 10th drawdown, all the previous drawdowns would have been listed here. The approvals that were on there, the backup of that purchase order, and any additional backup on there. There are your check packs. I did nothing to put them together except just approve everything and create the check along the way. I didn't do anything to put anything together. It was all right there. More importantly, let's talk about our audit now. You get a list of, you need 5 checks, 10 checks to go to your auditor. I'm going to go ahead and just click those 5 that my auditor wants. I'm going to go up here and do actions, download the PDF. I'm going to download them to my page. And if I open them, it's going to open them in a zip file. All I need to do is unzip this and drag and drop it to my auditor's email. And I have just finished getting them all their backup. And that took me, now granted, if you had thousands of checks in there, that would have taken me probably 15 minutes to sort through and get them. I'd have to go in a few steps, but a lot less than, you know, hours and hours and going back into DocuSign in and out and or not DocuSign, but PDF in and out, in and out. So that is my, and so many other ways to filter for information. I could go on and on and on about filtering for information, but I'm going to toss it over to Kay, unless Kay.
Well, I do love the filing cabinet. They do it on the payroll side too. So the minute the check is cut, it's filed with all the backup, the box inventory, the time card, the check, they're all filed away. And I love it because it's at my fingertips, which we'll get to see that today. So I'm going to share my screen. We're going to talk about those wonderful holidays that come at me where I feel like I don't get any chance to actually relax to get to the holiday. I am in a anxiety rush all the way up to, let's say it's a Thanksgiving holiday. So up to Wednesday late, I'm trying to get all the payroll out. That was my old life. My new life is a little different. So I'm going to share, can you see my screen? Okay, great. Because it doesn't have a little box around it right now. So I come in on Sunday. That's my typical day to work. And I have set up a view like Jenna had mentioned, she had views. I have a view. This is the view I like. You have a lot of other tabs here. They show you what was processed, what's batched, what's unbatched. There's a lot here that we can utilize. For me, just to go through my every week, this is what I do. I use my Cady weekly review. So let's say I want to look at my, let's go with grips. No, electric. Let's go electric. So here are my electric people. It's loading. Sorry, it's me, not you. These are the 4 that I have down. Naturally, you might have like 10 with your gaffer and these are all the on production people. You can departmentalize your divisions by rigging as well, so they can be separate. But now I have them as if, so this is their time they have turned into me. It's come in through their onboard. Either the department head did it for them and then they approved it, or the employee sent it directly to me. So I'm waking up and I'm seeing that I have 4 4 electric people. I'm going to go to the daily grid for this, because when we have to check their hours, we have to typically do it by looking at the PR. And so I have, let's say I have Richard Dreyfuss before me as a company grip. Then I have to look through 5 different PRs all at one time and go, whoop, okay, he's done. Okay, next. Okay, flip through 5 more PRs for the next person. That's a lot of time and energy not well spent. Here, if I set up, again, I set up my K checks PR view, and I type in under my division, I want the electric. Here are those 4 people. And now I have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've got all of their times set up. And now I look at the PR for 113, and I'm checking their times, all of them at one time. This is saving me the whole paper shuffle to begin with. If these guys are correct on all of their days, which maybe if someone isn't, it's totally fine. Let's say Jerry Seinfeld, he got his time wrong. I have a principle. If it's a 7:30 wrap, but he really has 7:40, I'm just going to change it because I'm adding time to him. If I'm ever taking time, I'm going to reject it. I'm not going to take time without his approval. But if I'm adding time, I will add it. I'm not going to send that back to tell him, hey, change that. So anyway, I will go now that I have approved everything. Let's just say everything was fine. Even Jerry got it right, let's say. And if he didn't, again, I can just reject it back to him, and I'll tell him exactly what I need him to change, and he can do that for me. So, and meanwhile, the rest of them are all moving upstream for approvals. Okay, so I'm in my thing, and I'm going to go ahead and sort by electric. So I use this little sorting. I use the divisions is another word for departments. They are, I think they're very good to, if you have a pretty good size show, you're going to want to show all the departments. And then when you onboard people, you're grabbing that department or that division for them. And that way you can then, when you're doing payroll, sort by those things. So now I say, yep, these look all good. I like the hours. Now, again, this is just hours. We haven't done the grossing, but I will just go ahead and check each one of those, give them a check mark, go up to actions up here, and I'm going to approve all 4 at one time. What that's going to do, it's a success right there. I love that. I do a little soft refresh. They are now on the grossing side. Now I can open them up one by one. And I can do it 2 ways. I can either approve, submit that I think it's fine, send it on to the UPM, or I can look at it, say it's good, go to the next one, make sure it's looking good, like his box has got 5 days instead of 1 or whatever, like, or that he only worked 3 days, that should be a 3. So I'm able to do this and go through each one. And once I've decided that all these are fine, then I can do another bulk approval. And I will go ahead and approve all of those to go to the next stage, which is now the UPM of the accountant, whoever's next in line to we get it complete, which can be me and someone else or me and a couple people. So that's all client enablement will specialize all that, which I love. So you can really customize it. And then that would be how I would save a lot of time. Now, all of that, what I just did, I do every week. It doesn't matter if there's a holiday coming at me. This is my normal week. I still can get payroll done by Wednesday, and when it's approved, it's all being filed. I spend my Thursdays like looking at adjustments or seeing if there's anything that needs to be done, or onboarding and looking at those things, looking ahead at the schedule. Do we have a second unit coming? What is that going to entail? Who are we going to be hiring? Who's being bumped up? Like, I get to pay attention to those things now, which I love, instead of like, I'm always like behind the 8 ball. Wait, what's happening? What's happening? That's not happening anymore. I feel like this is such a wonderful system. I actually can't go back. Like, there's no way I can go back. Jen, can you go back to anything else?
No, I would not take it. I would not, if I had to go back to to production, I would not use another system.
Yeah, I
Kimberly, it
can't
looks
do
like
it.
we have
Yeah,
a
we do
question.
have one question for
Yeah,
you, Kay.
sure.
Awesome.
There's actually a couple, but we're running short on time, so we'll just do one right now.
Okay.
So they wanted to know, how did the crew time info get into that grid?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's happening is when Jen showed you, I'm going to show you our home screen. So remember she said like, this is really busy because I have every single approval in this sandbox. Mind you, this is a sandbox, meaning that we get to demo in here. But as a crew member, you might have the start panel and the time cards. That employee can go in and create a time card for himself or herself every week. Also a department head, like a lead man or a best boy, can create it for all of his department. And then it shoots off to the employees into their notifications. They go in and approve their time card, and then it shows up in my box. So it has either one or two steps from the employee straight to me, or from the department head to the employee straight to me. And that's how it ends up there. They're working within their own portal, but in the same program that I'm in. We're all, even my paymaster is in this portal. I don't have to wait for someone to send me a batch back. If I'm like, give me that batch back, I can just take it back. Like,
And the great thing is your crew members also can work on it from the mobile as well. We have the mobile apps.
Yep.
They can do this from the set as well as they can do that from the computer. So they can be wrapping and putting their times in at the same time. They don't have to run to a computer. They're doing it from their phone, from their set. They're
Yep.
also able to submit AP from the mobile app. The mobile app is just a smaller version, but it is fantastic.
Yep.
All right. Do we have another question, Kimberly?
For now, let's move on time-wise, but we do
Yeah.
have some. We'll come back to them at the end.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for your question.
So let's talk about logging, or what I like to call a logless world, which is what I love, working in a logless world. So we have to log so many different things, and going into, well, going in and out of different systems takes tons and tons and tons of time on its own, but keeping secondary logs takes tons of our time and tons of our effort away from us as well. So if we can keep all of those logs away and not have to utilize them, we get all of that double entry, that double duty out of our world. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. I'm gonna have a mirror for a second and I moved. Hold on one second, everybody. I did that wrong. Please forgive me. Let me escape what I was doing. I apologize. There we go. Let's try that again. I moved so I could look at y'all better, and then I didn't move it back. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go over to my vendors, and we're going to talk about vendors because that's one log that a lot of us have had to keep over the years, is our vendor log. And we have to log all of our vendors because we have to give them a number within our system. Anything that GreenSlate offers to auto do for you, let us. And one of those things is we auto number pretty much everything for you. So if I go to create a vendor, I can create a vendor so much time over the cumulative course of my show. It's not even funny. From this one screen, to give you the quantifiable, I'll try to walk you through it. First and foremost, you don't have to remember your / or /, and that, let's just be honest, means the world to me, because I could never remember that. And just knowing that I don't have to do that just makes me super happy. Your auto generate, I no longer have to keep my vendor code. I now no longer have to keep a vendor log. Done, gone. So now just in that alone, I've saved myself seconds. I'm going to upload all of my documents that are going to stay attached to every transaction across every module here. So I'm no longer scanning and copying and dragging and dropping in PDF and doing all of that. It's going to stay here. All of your information is here. If you put your vendor's email in there and your vendor wants a PO email to them, if you put the email in there, we can send it from there. If you don't put it in there, we can still send it. You're just going to have to type it in later, but you might as well put it in there and it'll populate. But going down, we have these wonderful defaults that are going to save you time as well. Not necessarily logging, but time. So if I know that this vendor is always going to be a Georgia spend and I default this, every single line that's ever used for this vendor, it's going to auto-populate that. So think about how many times I'm not going to have to click into Georgia spend. That saves me all this cumulative time over and over. If I know they're a 1099, I can do that there. We have all these other defaults that make it super fast. Cache pay, we can do that one click and that's all you need to do. But going back to our logs, one of the really heavy log thing besides POs is tracking our petty cash and our P cards. In order to give our crew members petty cash or P cards, that requires us to go track them down and get a W-9 if payroll didn't get it for us. It also requires us to go into the chart of accounts and create those lines in the chart of accounts. And I said lines because if they're getting petty cash and P cards, you have to create them both. And then you have to track both of those in their own log. So again, you are double doing all of that work. So within our system, we make it really simple for you. We have this wonderful add an employee as a vendor button. And if I click that, and we're going to say Edith Head is coming on as a wardrobe buyer and cash and P cards. You're going to see when I clicked Edith Head and they came over, it came over with all of her information. I didn't need to add anything. There's no need for me to add a W-9 because it's linked to their payroll file. It's linked to their file within GreenSlate and it's all in one system. So it all communicates to one another. But this is where it gets so super cool. If I go down here to my PC account or my prepaid card account and I click down and I click auto create, what this is going to do is as soon as I hit submit, it's going to create the line in the chart of accounts already for you, linking them as a vendor. You do not have to keep a log. It tracks it all for you across every single module. So far we have gotten rid of our vendor log, our PC log, and our P card log. And I can tell you, you don't need to keep a PO log either because we're going to do the same thing with the consecutive numbers. And you can do a draft of a PO to get a temporary, to get a placeholder of a number as well. So all of that alone is going to save you hours and hours of logging in and out and going and double tracking everything because everything stays here. I also want to show you super quick, one of my favorite things actually, on our purchase orders, tracking sheets. You don't have to keep tracking sheets any longer. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at a partial PO here. Let's look at this purchase order real quick. So if I want to know associated transactions were, what are my drawdowns purchase order? Here's a purchase order. Here was the line for the purchase order. This says associated transactions, 1750. We have drawn down on this purchase order once for 1750. If there had been five drawdowns, they would all be listed here. And because they're blue and anything that's in blue is linkable, I can go ahead and I can open that invoice and see those drawdowns. All those drawdowns are also going to print on the PDF of your purchase order right there. You will always know where you are with your PO at any point in time. You do not need to keep tracking sheets at all as well. So I think I've just saved you probably about half an hour every day.
That's amazing. I remember the AP. I remember it. This brings back like a lot. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like it's taking care of the things that we used to have to, I used to have to go to the chart of accounts just to find out what the next number was for a PC person or a P card person. I don't have to do that anymore. Yeah, I love it. I love it. I'd love to talk to you about like the adjustments. One of my least favorite things that happen, but you know, it happens. Somebody calls and says, hey, I didn't get my box last week. So I get to have to now, in the old days, I would have to go to the file cabinet or even worse, to the stack of papers if it was last week that haven't been filed yet. So we would have to go climbing through to find we'd have to, and it's not in alphabetical order. It's kind of department-y. So you're kind of looking through, trying to find his department. It's awful. And that's just because the poor clerk didn't have a chance to get to filing it, right? I got it all collated and ready to go. But as you can see on my screen, I have a tab that's called processed. So this is a way that I can look up. Desi Arnaz calls me and says, hey man, you did not get me my box last week. Now, granted, he turned in his time, but he didn't put in a box, and he gets a box, but he didn't put it in. So, and I didn't catch it. So processed means that I can just put an AR for his last name, and I searched and I found it. Here was this payment. And so now I have a chance to look at this payment. I can view with a view time card with check copy PDF. And so if I click on that, that's what I get. I get this download PDF look. I have it right here too. I just went ahead and but here's what his time card looks like. Here's his paycheck. And sure enough, there's no box paid right here. I would see it here. And I would see a line right here for it. Nothing there. So he's right. So I would go, my next step would be to just go into this little plus sign. I'll show you what that looks like actually. So if I go plus and I go Arnaz, there he is. I can do last week's. The location was Atlanta. And then I can create this time card. So I've done that over here just so you can see everything I would have done for this time card. So I'm clicking over to, I have added in his box rental for 5 days right here. And I put a note to everybody signing, because the accountants don't know it's coming. The UPM doesn't know this is coming. So they're going to see it and they're going to be like, why are we paying this guy $50? So it says here, his box was missed from week ending 1/11. See attached PDF for 1/11 payment. And what I do is I just download what we just looked at in that this thing. I would download that to a file. I usually keep a file on my desk called downloads, that I have to upload, because I want to have some continuity. I want this to tell the story. I don't want to just pay him his $50 and let everybody connect the dots, like with my note here. I can literally upload that document right here so that even the producer can just click on that and be like, oh, so I see what happened here. He did not get paid. Okay. All right. I'll sign it. And then I submit this off for everybody to sign, but now they have a story. They know what happened. So I really love the systems able to give me that backup information. That is really important, that we're telling the story for why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm able to leave notes that only upstream. We have administrative notes that only they can see. If I had left the note here, everybody could see it, which is fine too. He could have seen this note, but I really wanted my upper stream to know this is an adjustment. I could also put, so once this gets to the grossing side, I can put on a memo line appears here on the next step, and I could actually put adjustment for box. That would show up on the check, which is kind of nice. Here's that year-to-date feature. If he had been paid his box, this would be $50 here. So this accumulates every time he's paid. This number goes up on the year-to-date. So having known that he didn't get paid on 1/11, I have to consider, what's his time card look like right now? Do I need to go take a look? So I'm going to go back to my weekly, the view I like, and I'm going to put in his name, AR. I just have to get some letters, because some people's names might be hard to spell. At least you know a couple, you're going to get it. The system's intuitive. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to review his current time card, the one I'm working on right now. And sure enough, he did not add his box again. So now I can just simply, I'm not going to search. I'll just type box. I'm going to do it for 5 days. 5, and that's going to calculate all the way across, and I would approve, and that's going to happen. Now that one's fine. And when I approve something, I just want to show you, it shows up on the grossing side. Now I've already checked, presume I have checked all the hours when they were in the hours side, and I checked them on my daily, because that's where I can see them personally. Remember, we did that earlier. which is so easy for me to have looked up Arnez or anybody I'm looking up, which is great. So we have a daily and a weekly, and that's really helpful throughout my work week, especially with the making sure that I can deal. And let's just say, I just want to throw this in there. Let's say I was like, you know what? I don't like this, like Cosmo Kramer, that's wrong. He's got to change something. Even on the grossing side, I can click in and reject it back to him. I have all these steps that I can reject it back to if I want to do it to the employee or my approval step even. And I got to give a reason, and then I can confirm, and it rejects it back to him. It's really nice. I just really appreciate this. I've been waiting for this for a long time, Jen.
Now, Kay, why did you go back and change it in their time card as well?
Because it didn't carry over because there's a copy from feature, and I'm pretty sure that's what he did. So once you've been
Ah,
paid once, you can have a copy from up to, I think it's 4 weeks. So there's this little drop down thing that says that you can copy these hours from the week before, which really helps for people who are weeklies. It helps for riggers that are pretty much the same. We even have some other features which you really need to come to the class, but we have this batch create time card feature here. And that is like, I can do all the writers, producers, everybody like in minutes, just copy from last week's because it's all a schedule. It's all the same. But even for people who want to just do blank time cards, the whole department head could just be like, give me all of my time cards, just leave them blank. I fill them in every Monday. Or he's saying, hey, just take all of one person's time for all of my guys. And so he can auto populate, his 10 guys from one guy's time card. So it's pretty cool. There's some neat time saving ingenuity here. And for everybody, it's not just for us. That's what I love. Once they go, I show them something, like I show a department head, their world has changed. Once I show a UPM, hey, how do you like to see it? Let's put it that way. And they're like, oh my gosh, I can see it that way. I'm like, yes. So it's awesome.
all right. So let's move on. So let's talk one. So Kay just covered two of her, what I'm assuming are some of her pet peeves of what we have to do in
Yes.
payroll. Let's talk about one of AP's pet peeves, which is the rush checks. And let's be honest, they happen. We cannot avoid them. And they are absolutely time consuming and energy consuming and resource consuming as well. They are just all consuming, let's be honest. And locations walks in at 10 and needs their check by 3. Because the way the system is set up, the locations person could be right there on the location. They've had the owner sign the document. They can upload it from their mobile, send that transaction with the rush button on there. So everybody knows it's going to be on a rush. And then the next person will be notified when it's created. They put it in a rush. Somebody just take my rush away while we've been in a webinar. They did. Okay, sorry. We had a rush. Somebody took the rush off. That's very strange.
We
They
are
pushed it
we
through.
are in a
We are in a
sandbox.
live demo, everybody. I
Yeah,
apologize for that.
everybody's in there playing around.
Yep, we can go ahead and we can turn this on to rush, and I can show it real quickly. Oh,
Yep.
nope, I haven't done that one. That's weird. You can turn a rush on anytime you want.
Yes.
And it was going to make it gold. You have to put the reason.
Jenna, you're not
for
sharing your screen.
Oh, well, that's good. You didn't see that it wasn't there.
We try to set them up so you can see like what real world looks like. And this happens in real world. So now the guys
be gold right here, and it would be gold, and whoever was next in the approval flow would be notified that it was a rush. And then GreenSlate also offers an amazing thing called digital signatures, where you can print your digital signatures on checks so that you can print live checks from your desk. Those approval flows are very, very strict. So let's talk about approval flows real fast. Approval flows, everything we do, we know has to be approved by many, many people for many different steps. And oftentimes different per department, oftentimes different, even for if thens of, 25,000 needs to go to the studio. Everything, every transaction within the system goes on some sort of approval flow. Now, that approval flow could be enter and it's approved and it's done, a one-step approval flow of submit and good, up to a 500-step approval flow. Don't know why, but if you really wanted to, but you could have it that deep and that granular of if then and all of these steps in it. If you are using digital signatures, that is a very strict approval flow because you're talking about legal tender that only the signers can approve that check run. But because the rush, because everything's in the system and from the onset, and because of digital signatures, I was able to, I kid you not, hand locations a live check in my office 27 minutes. The locations assistant and I stared at each other for a few seconds because neither of us could believe that we weren't, like, I don't know, in a Matrix moment, but it was reality. And I was able to recreate that as well. That became the norm. Now, not necessarily 27 minutes, but no longer was it 3 hours and somebody having to go run around and find somebody. It was 27 minutes while never leaving my desk and not taking resources from anybody else, except maybe texting my UPM saying, hey, super rush, please do it. That was the extent of it. And I was able to get those checks out in that manner. The fact that I can do that and get that to locations is huge. And I'm so grateful for that.
Yeah, and Jenna, now you can, if you're competitive like I am, you can like have a little, like that could be the log that you keep is how long does it take us to get rush check approval? So that's like the one log that maybe becomes acceptable on each production, just competitive, you know?
Yes, you worked with me before.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. Like I said at the beginning, there's some really great information on the time savings and how to get those hours back in your week. Jenna and Kay's contact information is on the screen for you if you are interested or have additional things that you would like to follow up with them. Just like our customer service, we will get back to you, and we would be happy to follow up with you about that. Before we go on to the questions, I do just want to say that, Kay, there's one comment in the chat that says that you're making them want to move to payroll, which I just love. That's so cute, right?
That's awesome.
So, all right. So we
I
have
would do
hit,
payroll. I would do payroll on GreenSlate.
yeah.
I can do payroll. I didn't like to do payroll, but if I was asked to do payroll for a friend, I would demand to do it on GreenSlate, especially if I was stepping in to help on a small little project. Hands
Yep.
down, but I do it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very sweet. I thank you.
Yeah.
I hope that you understand, like I am happy. Let me just tell you, I am a happy girl. The
Yeah.
payroll's hard enough. Like it is grueling. I would walk in there and I would be like, I don't want to ever be in payroll when I was a first. And
Yeah.
now here I am. I've gone through some other programs through payroll and it wasn't the same. And I got here and I went, uh-oh, I can't go back.
Yeah.
Like,
All right. Well, I think people are seeing this already, but go ahead and put any questions you have in the Q&A. In just a minute, we'll also give you a chance to raise your hand if you want to ask a question live. But I know Jenna and Kay both mentioned a little bit about training as we were talking about this, and it is something that we do offer. That QR code on your screen, if you just pull out your phone, take a picture, it will take you to a page where you can sign up to get updates on our training classes. And we just launched a training specific for production accountants. And then we also have training for first assistant, second assistant, and payroll. And the fantastic thing is your teachers will be Jenna and Kay. So you are taught in these classes by people who have been in the industry for years and they know what they're talking about. So you're learning our software and you're also learning from people who are experts in the field and can give you some of that insider information, and just the efficiencies and those kinds of things that they know from doing this for many years. So highly recommend our training. All right, ladies, we had a couple questions when people registered. They could ask questions. We got more than just these two. We tried to put put them into the webinar. So these were a couple that didn't quite fit that I just wanted us to cover quickly. And then we've got a whole bunch of questions people are asking. So we'll get to those. So as someone who is green to payroll accounting, what are the best practices / studies to familiarize myself with union laws?
Well, I think one of the things to do is that every show has contracts. Like you have to read those contracts. Like if you're part of an area standard somewhere and you're filming, read that contract. I know there's a lot of these and thous, but it's just good for you to know. Like that's a good a discipline for you to know it. But with GreenSlate, they do all the grossing hours to gross, all the labor relations calcs and figures out those contracts and puts them in the background so they work within the system. That having said that, though, I always still think it's always so good to read the contracts that you're under when you're on a show. I know it seems boring, but it's like your roadmap. You just need to know it. If anybody asks you a question, you got it on your tongue. You know what it is. Like so it's important.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The next question that we received here is, how can GreenSlate assist my production company in the prep stages before a major production?
I'll take that one. It's not how can, it's how will. So there's a couple ways to answer this question. One is that we usually start a lot of our projects as early as just getting the casting director on. And that's all we're starting is payroll for just your casting director. And we are starting with that one tiny thing. But as you're ramping up, you're going to meet with our project setup team. We are going to go over all the bells and whistles that you need turned on for your show. And we're going to go over the why you may want or may not want some of those bells and whistles and the ramifications for putting them on there. We're going to talk about approval flows. We're going to talk you through, how do you need your approval flows to go? What are your studio requirements? We are going to get your studio requirements. We're going to upload your COA for you. We're also going to, no matter what, and no matter what size budget, we are going to immediately schedule training for you with either Kay, myself, or the internal trainers, depending on where you are in the world and what you're getting trained for. But if you're looking for payroll, you're going to get payroll trained. AP, you're going to get AP trained. If you are on a show that a bigger show, we also offer for certain things, we can do boots on the ground where we can come help your team. We can also help your team virtually. I like to do one-on-one with almost every new user if they would let me, and help customize and get them set up. And I do that all the time, and I love it. So we're going to get you through all those steps. And again, going back to our customer service, if there is something going on, we're going to be right there for you working through it. One of the things that GreenSlate understands is that if we as the user, the accountants, the payroll accountants, if we're calling for help, this isn't I can wait 24 to 48 hours issue. If we're calling for help, we need help now. It usually is a blockage to our entire work day. So GreenSlate understands that. We know that. So we are going to answer and take care of that as fast as we possibly can.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
I hear that time and time again from both obviously internally, but externally too. Feedback from people that they can't believe how quickly we got back to them and how much, how we were able to help. So let me throw one question at you here, and then we'll go ahead and see if somebody wants to raise their hand. So if you'd like to ask a question and let us unmute you, you could go ahead and raise your hand now. That's fine. So Kay, somebody was asking, if the paymaster sees an error, how is it flagged for an LP or UPM to review?
If a paymaster sees the error,
That's what the question says. Yes.
if it's already gone through, it's got to have made it all the way through the grossing process. So the flag there wouldn't be an error. I mean, like, that's an interesting question, because the paymaster, the only thing I could ever think that can't be right out of the calculations is the IA hourly the right one for that union? Like, hello,
Yeah.
did everybody get that right? Okay, yeah, they did. It's right on the invoice. Okay, cool. Then it never goes back to a line producer.
Okay.
So
But
I think this.
can I just throw one extra layer onto that? If there error in the time card on that grid, it would show a big hazard sign letting you know that there is a problem in the calculations, or there's a problem in something in that time card, and the system's going to alert you to an error. So it's not like you need to go to find an error. The any errors or anything like that, the system's going to notify you with the hazard mark there, and that's going to notify you that there's something you need to look at.
Yeah, and that's way before that. Like, I can't even get it to the producer with that error. Like, I have to work that out before it could even get to that person. So it's going to show up at the
Oh,
payroll level
me.
when I'm grossing as the first step anyway, before it even went
Yeah,
there.
that makes sense.
Now, if the
Um,
producer sees something on there, like, let's say he doesn't like, hey, he's not supposed to be getting that, or I made, like, whatever his complaint is, like, those hours are not right. I have a second thought about that. He's gonna reject that time card all the way back to the employee.
Yeah.
He can
Yeah.
bypass me and jump right back there.
Yeah. Yep, which is what I think that based on when that question was put in, I think that's what the was is if you, Kay, as you're reviewing them, find an error, what happens? And what
Got
you're
it.
saying is we can reject that back
Yes.
to whatever stage it needs to go back to fix that error.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We are getting, again, quite a few questions. I noticed some people are putting them in the chat. I just want to say, since we are getting close to time here, if you have questions, please make sure and put them in the Q&A box. It's looking to me like we're not going to be able to answer all the questions that we've received, but just to prove our point about customer service, we're 100% going to follow up with you to answer your questions. If you've put them in the Q&A, we can follow up with you there because we get a log of those questions. So that's why I'm asking you to put those there. I do see somebody has raised their hand. Let me find, and I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. First, you want to let us know, you should be able to talk now. You want to introduce yourself and then ask your question?
Hello, my name is Sharika LaFons. I have been a second assistant, I said, for 8 years. It has been a while since I've been in work, but I'm still trying to keep up with all of the, all of the new things coming out. I have been in a cachet niche for some time, but I don't believe I've used uh GreenSlate since about 2022. I wanted to know, how smooth is the process for cachet? Not cachet pay, but cachet P cards.
Cachet P card. It's not a seamless integration right now. We are working on it. Right now, Cachet does have a direct seamless with one of the other with EP, but they have a
Right.
contract with them. Basically, you're going to go to Cachet. You're going to go to your PCE log. You're going to find that envelope in there and that little green button. You're going to download the CSV file and the PDF with images. You're going to download those two files, and you're going to go into the system. You're the Cachet second. You are going to go then take that downloaded file, go into GreenSlate and create that envelope. And we have this amazing copy paste. So you are going to copy that CSV file, Control C in Excel, and hit the paste button, and it will beautifully just miraculously appear every line as you had it from the Excel sheet that you brought in. And then you're going to drag and drop that PDF in there, and the envelope is done. It's going to bring over the total. It's going to auto number it for you. It's going to auto link it to that vendor and put it all correctly in there for you.
Okay,
And
thank you. Oh, go
can I
ahead.
just the quick follow-up? So then after that's done, does it file itself, or do we have
Yep.
to? Because I feel like before I had to bring it in from, I guess, PSL. I don't even remember. It was so long ago. Please forgive me. But I just remember having to still file everything after
As
in
long as you bring
GreenSlate.
that PDF with the images, and then you just drag and drop it in that file uploader, the envelope is done and complete. It has to go on its approval flows within our system, obviously. But once the approval flows are done, it's in the system and complete. And just like I showed you that checks was the file cabinet, I can go to the P card module and every envelope is sitting there. It's blue. I click it, I open it, I can see it. I can open all the backup. It's right there for me. I don't need to keep it. I don't need to keep the receipts, anything. It's all there for me. And all the backup that y'all put on there, everything that y'all back up to there stays in perpetuity. We keep our projects for about 10 years. Also, I'm just going to cover this. There is no limit on data. CYA, upload everything you can possibly think of. This system is designed for CYA, notes, backup, unlimited backup. You can also add notes or backup at any point in time in a transaction. You could be a post and go add an email about it. I can go on and on, but I just wanted to throw that in there. Sorry.
No,
I'll
I'm
stop.
glad you did, Jenna, because somebody was asking about when Kay was showing about adding that the PDF of the prior week's paycheck, you know, onto the one we're adding the box rental. You know, why would you do that? Because that would eat up a lot of data. Well, when you have unlimited data, it doesn't matter. Like let's tell the whole story, like Kay said, and let's
Exactly.
show the whole string so that that it's there and everybody understands. They don't have to come to you to ask questions. It's another way to save time too. Not only, you know, is it covering your, as you said, CYA, but you know, it's also, you know, telling the story so that everybody understands without having to waste your time to find out. So
Yep.
we have 2 minutes left. So let me throw one more question here. Somebody wanted to know about customizing file names when downloading those PDFs.
You can customize everything, but
Everything.
down to your file name. Yes, we will give. GreenSlate has a general industry-wide consensus agreed upon default for every single thing, but then almost everything else can be customized to exactly what you need, down to your file naming conventions per your studio. So that is very, very helpful.
And
Yeah.
per item, like there are so many in payroll. There are some naming conventions. Like I can pick certain things for starts. I can pick something for the time card filing. I can pick something for the I-9, like whatever it is. And it's phenomenal. And I've seen the AP side, like you can minutia down. Every single thing can be a certain kind of naming convention. And they'll work with you to specialize it. And if you need to change it, you can change it. If you're like, oh, wait, we need to change the way that looks, they'd change it.
Yeah. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you both so much. And thank you everyone who joined. I do see one person who has their hand
I
raised.
was going
So
to say the same thing.
if you want to quickly put your question in the Q&A, that way we can follow up with you. If for some reason this ends before you're able to get that in, feel free to email myself at accountantrelations@greenslate.com, or you can email Jenna or Kay, and we will absolutely answer your question for you. So I do want to thank everyone so much for joining us today. I know I enjoyed hearing everything that Jenna and Kay had to say. I'm assuming you did as well. And we just want to wish you all a happy Friday. And again, we will follow up with everybody who had questions that we did not get answered.
Thank you.
Thank you.